Luke, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me and giving me your greatest commodity, and that is your time. We can't get time back. There's a lot of things we can do. We can give money away. I've taught my kids there's three things you do with money. You can give, save, and spend, right? And you can always spend some money, and you can make some more money. Even a guy like Sam Walton, who owned Walmart, he knew you could save, give, spend. You could always get some more money, but he couldn't get back his time. And so I just want to say thanks for taking the time. It is a huge blessing when someone gives their time to you. So thank you so much. Our passage for the day comes from Matthew chapter 23. I want to read verses 11 through 12. And Jesus is speaking to the super religious people of the day, the scribes and the Pharisees. And they were the leading authorities on telling people what to do. Luke, have you ever known anyone who seems to be kind of bossy and they seem to know everything about everything?
Yes, sir. I got a sister, so yes, sir. Yeah, well, younger sister.
These guys were really bad. They wanted to tell everybody what to do. They wanted to preach, but they didn't want to practice what they preach. We call these people hypocrites, and the Koine Greek word for hypocrites literally means someone who wears a mask. So you act one way in public, and you act a different way behind the scenes. So Jesus says this about the scribes and the Pharisees. He tells them at the very end, he says, "The greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." You know, Jesus' statement is antithetical to everything the scribes and the Pharisees do. The scribes and Pharisees are those kind of guys, and we've met these kind of guys before, that every story, they're the hero, right? It's like, this happened, but I saved the day, the scribes and the Pharisees. And Jesus says in verse 11, he says, "The greatest among you shall be your servant." The word servant there is literally doulos, which means slave. I'm going to bow down. I'm going to serve others. That's what a real leader looks like. That's the people who are the greatest among us, are those who are actually serving when nobody's looking, when you're not getting accolades and pats on the back and recognition. But those who really are the greatest among us are those who serve. And Jesus' statement is kind of an upside-down kingdom. It's a backwards way of doing things because man wants to focus on man. Because of our sin, we're very prideful people, and we want all praise, all honor, and all glory. And we want everybody to know our name, and we want everybody to say, "Man, you are amazing." And we want affirmation from people. And really what we're getting at here is pride. Jesus says here, "Whoever exalts himself, who elevates himself up, will be humbled." And pride is that spiritual cancer that is eating away at all of us, honestly. We all have pride, and no matter who we are. Some of us just maybe hide our pride a little bit better than others. But Jesus, what he says is, he's kind of an oddity here, because he says, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted. And what he's pointing out is these scribes and Pharisees are kind of like the seagulls in the movie Nemo. You remember the scene?
Mine. Yep.
Nemo's dad and Dory the bluefish are on the dock, and all those seagulls start lining up. And they're so individualistic and so consumeristic that they want to eat the fish. They don't care about the person next to them at all. Well, there's actually a great example of this in the Bible. If you go back to the Old Testament in Daniel chapter 4, there was a King Nebuchadnezzar. If you ever watch VeggieTales, they called him King Nebi.
That's a classic right there, man. Bring me all the way back.
Yeah. But, King Nebuchadnezzar built one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. They were hanging gardens in Babylon. Babylon was this powerhouse. They had the greatest military, the greatest might. They had the most wealth. And all of the other nations bowed down to them. And King Nebuchadnezzar, one day says, "Is this not great Babylon that I have built?" And before he could even get it out of his mouth, the Lord spoke to him and said, "You're going to be humbled." And he sends him out of the kingdom. He's out of his mind. He begins to basically get on all fours and eat grass. And he grows claws and hair, and he looks like some kind of wild beast. This is the guy who was the preeminent leader, and now he's some kind of lunatic out there eating grass. And at the very end of Daniel chapter 4, there's this wonderful line. After the Lord humbled him, then the Lord restores him. He restores him because Nebuchadnezzar finally says, "I was prideful. I shouldn't have been prideful. God is God. He's God alone. I'm not God." And at the very end of Daniel chapter 4, verse 37, he says, "Those who walk in pride, he is able to humble." You know, this is analogous to the baseball player who says, "I don't need God. I can hit home runs all day long. I can throw 100 all by myself. I've got this. I'm basically God of my world." And that's the way we treat athletes who have those amazing talents is we put them on a pedestal and we kind of worship them as God. We pay them very lucrative contracts. We worship them on the baseball field and on the football field and whatever. And the Lord will humble all of us at some point. And we've all walked through it. But man, wouldn't it be a better idea if we were to, as Peter says, humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God so at the proper time he may exalt us? Jesus is really getting to the gospel when he says, "Whoever exalts themselves will be humbled." That's all of us as human beings, period. We've all been prideful. But then he says, "Whoever humbles himself will be exalted." And there was only one who was exalted in heaven, who came down and humbled himself to the point of death, even death on a cross. That's Philippians chapter 2. And he took on our pride on that cross. He didn't have to. He was the most humble person ever. This is the Christian faith. This is the Christian leader. Jesus humbles himself on the cross, takes on our pride so that we can now be accepted and brought into God's family. And now we can have a different disposition. We can have the same disposition of humility, counting others more significant than ourselves, being like John the Baptist who says, "He must increase, I must decrease." And this at the core of it is all about grace. We're saved by grace. And grace, it does two things. Number one, it says we didn't save ourselves. We need to be saved, and we didn't save ourselves. We couldn't save ourselves. So it humbles us. But at the exact same time, it said Jesus came and died for us on that cross, so it honors us. It's this weird equilibrium, this homeostasis that you can't find in anywhere else in all of the world except for inside the Christian faith, and it's all based upon Christ. And some people may say, "Well, where are you going with all this?" Well, I've been able to watch you for a couple of years now, and I've noticed there's something different about you. There's something working in you and through you, and there's a sense in which you count others more significant than yourself. You're looking for opportunities to encourage others. And the other night I was able to witness something that was really remarkable in my eyes, and I had to bring it up to our head coach, and that is you were pitching or playing against a very good team, and we're in the heat of battle. There's a pop-up towards the dugout. You go over. You're close to it, but you can't get there to make the play. Our catcher gets over. The catcher doesn't make the play. Hits off of him. I don't know if it's his head, his chin, his chest, his arm, or something. The face. I don't know. It was something. And you did two things. You said, "Hey, you okay?" "Yeah." Number two is, "It's going to be all right. We're going to go out and get this next out." Luke, I just have to tell you, when I was 16, 17, and 18 years old, and I played at Harrison, and I pitched, if my catcher would have not caught a pop-up, I probably would have dog cussed him and kicked him in the butt. Man. All right. I was not a Christian in high school, by the way, but I would have been really hot because, hey, man, just catch the baseball. We were out of the inning, right? Now we can go in and hit.
We were trying to claw back too at that point. We were down about 5. Maybe,
we were. Absolutely. Yeah. And my question to you is, what engendered that in you? What caused you to give words of encouragement during an activity that was really discouraging at the time, but it was so counterintuitive? You're basically a contrarian. You're doing the opposite of what most people want to do. What is it that, and where did you get taught this kind of humility and character? And where did it come from that night?
Well, I would start with my parents, first of all. From a young age, they sort of instilled that in me, just the whole others before yourself thing, whether, like I said, with my sister or with the people around me, people I interact with. My dad was a Marine, so I got a lot of wisdom and strength from that, both physically and mentally. My mom's a kindergarten teacher, and so and then I have a stepmom and a stepdad as well, who also both contribute just as much to all of that. So I got a lot poured into me, so I'm really grateful for that. And then I would also say my grandpa as well, because my grandpa's a pastor.
Oh, wow.
And so he, from a young age, has always been the guy that, like, I just not worshipped, but looked up to. And just everything he did, I was always behind him. And so my parents and him, I would say, would be the people that sort of taught me and instilled that in me as I was young to just treat others with the same respect I would want to receive.
Man. Well, it's very commendable. Because it's not our natural tendency. You know, all of us have a tendency to think about self more than others. And that was not just an isolated incident. I've seen you on a number of occasions. There was even this moment when we lost that game. And let's just say there might have been some running in the outfield after the game.
A little bit.
And you know, we're on probably, I don't know, pole 7, 8, 9, and guys are starting to suck wind. You can see guys cramping. And in the midst of that, you start giving words of encouragement. Come on, guys, we can do this. Let's keep going. Push yourself. Let's go. I think we ran a total of maybe 14 that night.
I think it was 15. But
was it 15? Yeah. Okay, 15.
Not that anyone was counting or anything, but we got up there a little bit.
But again, you're showing a totally different perspective and a heart motive. I think this is where you've obviously pointed out people who've influenced you greatly. Mom, dad, step-parents, grandfather. So tell me a little bit more about your grandfather.
So he's a pastor. He's a worship pastor.
Okay.
And he just from a young age, he has such a bright personality. He's the guy that, like, everyone who has ever attended his church or has ever seen him, like, he's the guy that, looking back on it now, it's a little weird, but he would go and, like, see people he was really close with when we would go out to eat, and he would go and he'd take a sip of their drink or something like that. And he was the guy, like, only if he was really close with them, of course, but he was always the guy that just, anytime you had a conversation with him, no matter what you're talking about, he never failed to put a smile on your face. And so me and him had a really special relationship, because when you're a little kid, man, when you're growing up, that's the stuff you gravitate towards. You're not going to gravitate towards the old grumpy guy in the corner
No.
that's not saying a word. You know, you're going to be with the guy that's always poking at you, picking at you, and having a good time. So,
wow.
Yeah.
All right, so where were you born and raised?
So I was born around here, raised around here.
Okay.
So this has been my community for a long time. I've bounced around a couple houses, but all in the same area. So
Yeah.
I actually went to Durham Middle School and McClure Middle School.
Okay.
So which both happened to feed into Harrison. So I was really lucky enough to be able to be mixed in with both of those groups of people. So I had I knew a lot of people going into high school, going into my freshman year, because I went to 2 middle schools that both fed in the same place.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. That is a blessing.
yeah.
Because you get a diversity of
yeah.
people that you get to know, and then you get to see them again. You're not, you don't feel isolated because you're like, I don't know very many people. All right. So you're born and raised around here. Obviously, West Cobb is a great place to live.
Oh yeah.
It's different than when I grew up. There's a lot more people here. There wasn't very many people out here at the time. But I will have to say, there have been so many wonderful things that have happened over the last 20 years, and it is a wonderful community to grow up in, and so many parents, great parents in this area, so many great teachers, coaches, so many different people who play an influential role for the betterment of this community, that we get to see it even like at Harrison. You get to see so many people in positions of authority and power, who are doing the same thing, who are leading by serving and never trying to grab attention, but always just trying to build up others and strengthen them. So you're born and raised around here, and you just said a minute ago that you've been influenced by your grandfather. Who else outside of parents, grandfather, anybody else? Because I can tell you this: when I was a kid, this is late 70s, early 80s, so a long time ago. But on my wall, I had Darryl Strawberry.
Ooh, yeah.
He played for the Mets at the time. I absolutely loved him. Left-handed hitter. I'm a left-handed guy, left-handed hitter. He hit bombs at Shea Stadium. It was unbelievable. And then I had another poster on my wall, and that was Michael Jordan. And this was back before Michael Jordan was the Michael Jordan. It was just getting started. But I looked up to those guys. I wanted to be like those guys. And then there became a point in my life where I realized I wasn't going to be 6'6". Everybody else had gotten a lot taller and faster in basketball than me. And I thought, yeah, it's probably not my path. I don't have those talents. But I still looked up to Strawberry because I could hit a ball a long way. And I thought, I want to do what this guy's doing. He's amazing athlete. But so who are some of the people that you look up to outside your family members?
Yeah, so just to sort of piggyback off of what you're saying a little bit, I feel like every kid my age has like a 2010s baseball player, like early 2010s guy that like they just, as a kid, just gravitated towards it. It can be so random. And so for me, my guy was Andrelton Simmons.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day, shortstop for the Braves.
Yeah.
Had a great glove. A little bit underrated in my opinion. Bounced around a little bit. I think he was with the Angels after that for a while. And so that was a guy that I just, for some reason, whatever reason, I've always been a Braves guy. Back just as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And so that was a guy for me. My mom tells this story to everyone when baseball comes up, but I would always we would go to games and my parents would like think that I would want to leave early or something like that, like when I was really little, but I would be talking to all the old guys that are like keeping the book or whatever, talking to them about baseball, just chopping it up with them, having the best time. And so, yeah.
I forgot he played for the Braves. They didn't have a great season at that time. They were like the early 1980s early Braves that looked like the Smurfs.
Yep.
And those awful uniforms, and they were bad at that time. But during that time, they weren't very good either.
There was a time I remember the way I learned my left from my right.
Yeah.
Was I knew B.J. Upton was in left field and Justin Upton was in right field, and I'm not kidding you. That's how I learned my left from my right, was because knowing which position those guys played. Yeah. I would sit anywhere thinking of my left and right. I was like, okay, B.J.'s here, Justin here, Jason Hayward in center. All right, we're good to go. Let's go. That's how I would know my left from my right. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, speaking of baseball, who introduced you and exposed you to this wonderful game?
Definitely my parents for sure. Like I said, early Braves games for me. I got exposed to that early, whether it was baseball always on in the house. Yeah. My dad played when he was little. Okay. Didn't play at a really high level, but enough for him to enjoy the game and love the game. My mom grew up in this area, which Braves country, big time. So she definitely was an influence as well. And so just constantly growing up, I started playing when I was 3. Wow. So I was playing with all the 4-year-olds when I was 3. So I was
That's great.
Getting a little bit of exposure early there for sure. So
it is remarkable if you grew up in this area, how big an influence the Braves have on you. I mean, obviously, huge influence on me when I was a kid growing up. And I got to watch some of the greats, and then I got to actually play baseball with their sons, which was fantastic. And then even my own kids growing up watching the Braves, and the roots run deep for Braves country, and it's it's kind of a religion in this neck of the woods.
Yeah, man.
So, all right. So take me back for just a second. When and where or how did you become a Christian?
So growing up, like I said, with my grandpa and my family, I've always grown up in church, and I always felt close to the Lord and felt like I had a good relationship with Him. And so I was really lucky to be exposed to that at a young age. Just like I said, watch my grandpa go up there and do his thing every Sunday, and just be able to get exposed to that was something that I think was really pivotal in my relationship. But I feel like something that a lot of kids my age have to learn is your parents aren't always going to be there holding your hand through your relationship with Christ. And so I think the last 1 or 2 years, but the last specifically couple months for me, I've really realized that it's my journey, and I have to establish the will for myself to want to go dive into this every single day. And so recently I've really started to sort of grasp what it means to really know what that feels like.
Well, that's remarkable that you're doing that, and it's happening in high school, because, man, what a way to put a firm foundation underneath yourself. For a lot of guys, it doesn't become real tangible or visceral until you go off to college. And you get to college and you look around and you go, oh, yeah, my parents aren't here anymore. Oh, yeah, we're not waking up on Sunday morning to go to church unless I go and do this myself, or I've got to find somewhere. I've been able to hear wonderful reports from, my own son as he goes off to college, and he's had to find somewhere to go and worship in a group of people. And it does. It's kind of a testing of your faith. That kind of brings me to the point of, what's some of the things you've been studying in Scripture recently that stand out to you?
Absolutely. So right here in James, it's James 1, verse 2. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." Yeah.
Wow. You get to kind of live that out, number one, because you're a high school student, and then there are a variety of, well, I should say even a garden variety of things out there to do and to get yourself into, and things that are being marketed to you every single day. But on top of that, you're obviously trying to do well in school, make good grades, and you're playing baseball on the baseball team. And as you know, and you've experienced, not every outing is your best outing. Last year when you got pulled up and you and Kim were pitching, it thrilled my heart. But you guys got put in some tough situations. And for the majority of the time, you guys both came through at flying colors. I mean, we had to use you guys.
Yeah.
We must use you guys. It was imperative that we had to use you because we needed some extra arms to make it through the playoffs. And both of you did extremely well. And then this year you come back and you're kind of a veteran, right? And isn't it amazing how, even though you know something really well and you've been able to compete at a high level, there's still those ups and downs.
Yes, sir.
And as you just read from James, I mean, you have to count it all joy when you meet those trials of various kinds, because the testing of your faith does produce steadfastness. I know you guys have a baseball weight training class, and you have to get in there and lift. And there's certain days you just don't feel like it. But those are the days where you got to keep lifting. You got to keep pushing the weight. You have to have a testing of your muscles so that you tear them open, and then you eat the protein and it builds them up bigger again. And what you're doing by reading that daily is the same thing for your faith. It's the testing of your faith. It's using those flabby faith muscles that we all kind of have to some degree, but you're using them now. And so instead of atrophying, they're now growing stronger and stronger. And there are things as you do that you'll realize, man, that was a real test for me years ago, but it's easier now. This is something just kind of rolls off my back because you're pouring yourself into the Scripture. Yeah. Well, so let me ask you this. What does your baseball journey look like as you came through as a kid, early age? Where did you play? And then leading up to getting to
Yeah.
Harrison?
So I was the Adams Park guy.
Oh, okay.
I know there's a lot of Oregon Park
Yeah,
guys around here.
that's
It
right.
can get a little tense, Played against a lot of these guys for a long time, but I was on the Kennesaw Generals for a while, Kennesaw Express, bounced around there a little bit.
Yep.
It was always a fun time. And then I went to staff athletics for I can't remember when it was, but I want to say 2 years before high school.
Yeah.
And then high school season came around and I tried out my freshman year. And, my freshman year, my mom actually had to convince me to try out as a pitcher my freshman year. I didn't really want to do it. I was just like, Mom, just let me try as an infielder and outfielder, I don't really want to do it. She's like, you got to just go out there and show them what all you can do. And so, because I pitched, but I didn't really enjoy it as much as I do now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so looking back, a blessing, knowing that I could do that. And so to start high school out, that was making the team my freshman year was a really big accomplishment in my eyes because our class, I believe, is really deep.
Yeah.
A lot of guys in my class that go to our school now that I think could start on some varsity teams in this area just because of how deep our school is and how many guys that we have. And so that was a big accomplishment for me. And then my sophomore year started out on JV. And then, like you said, about halfway through the season, I got caught up with Kimmy and Awat. And that was, for us, I think, not to speak for the three of us, but that was sort of us establishing the standard for ourselves as people and as individuals.
Yeah.
And so I think that was us establishing that, like you said, me and Kimmy going in there to throw and Aiden being plugged in right away in the infield. And so now this year, I think for me particularly, it's trying to achieve that standard and stay at that standard that I established for myself. And like you said, that's not always going to happen. Yeah. But when it does happen, you got to take joy in the fact that you're struggling and, just power through it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys have been doing a great job. And you did a great job leading on the JV level. I even got to see that at a distance before we brought you up. And it was leading by encouragement, leading by serving, but it was also leading by your example and how you competed, and you did really well. And then it almost seemed like it wasn't that big a step up for you when you came up to varsity and started pitching. I mean, you may have been hiding your emotions, but that a lot of us do. But you did a great job, you and Kim both, and then obviously with Watson, hitting a home run that first game. There's only one other guy that I know that's hit a home run his first game, and it was at Pellbrook, just like Watson, and that was Corey Patterson. So, so that's
some good company right there. If you ask me, man.
That's right. But it does take us back to walking in humility, right? Because to be a true leader, to be the greatest among us, you have to be a servant. And to be a servant is I'm putting others ahead of myself. Count others more significant than yourself. And I have to, just as a editorial piece for a second, when we started the season, we lost 4 games. And we've, been ranked, and we've got plenty of talent. There's a lot of talent on the team. But we lost those 4 games, and we had to really swallow a humble pill and say, yeah, you guys don't have it all figured out. And we got humbled, and then we had a good team meeting and had some discussions.
Yeah, we did.
And I think what we've got to see last weekend, but really this week, are a group of guys who are coming together to play together and saying, where can I help out the team?
Yeah.
Team first, not me first. It's we first, not me first. And we've seen this week where, 1 out or less than 1 out and a guy at third base, and we've got guys hitting just little ground ball to the right side to get the guy in. Could have easily tried to hit a home run and most of the time strike out doing so, which is a very selfish way to hit, but instead sacrificing for the team. Sacrificing and saying, I'm going to put the team first, whatever I've got to do to get on, to get the guy over, and to get the guy in. And the chemistry of everybody is starting to really fire on all cylinders to the point where we're starting to see some of that humility and that servant leadership from a number of guys.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you went down to the bullpen last night to get warm, and they were trying to do the chant, cheer, beat the stuff, and one of the guys said, "We got to stop. This is terrible without Hutchinson."
Man.
I don't know if it's got good rhythm or what.
I don't know.
Do you have any musical talent?
Grandpa's a worship pastor. I just
Okay.
I just gotta give the credit there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it's been cool to see that, especially with the 0-4 start. Actually, after I want to say it was the third game we lost. Before that fourth game, I got together a group of guys, sent out a text in our group chat. I was like, "Hey, I'm coming to the locker room about an hour early today. Gonna read some scripture. If any of y'all want to join me, come on in." And so about 6 guys came in and joined me, and we just read a couple stuff. We read in Malachi a little bit, talking about the refining of silver and that process. And we looked it up and we're talking about it. And the way silver is refined is it's got to be placed in the middle of the fire. And the way that the refiners know that the silver is refined is when they can see the reflection in it. And so in Malachi, when it says, I believe it's Malachi 3 verse 3, talks about how whenever God sits as a refiner of silver. And so that was just a kind of cool analogy just in that moment to see how we're being placed in the middle of the fire. It doesn't get much more hot than 0-4 right there. And so just knowing that you can either choose while you're in the fire to come out stronger or let it ultimately destroy you. And so that was just a cool moment for us to sort of reflect. And then going into all of our, like when we go do our prayer down there, one of the things that one of us always ends up saying it is play for the logo instead of the number on the back of your jersey. Just play for the guy to the right, play for the guy to the left of you, and just go out there and have fun.
So what does Hoya baseball mean to you?
Oof. That's a loaded question, man. That's a loaded question.
We got plenty of time.
Drinking out of a fire hose a little bit here, man.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just kidding. Hoya baseball, when I think of it, is something that Coach Story introduced me to and my class to really early. Was one day, random day conditioning, my freshman year. He looks at somebody, I can't remember who it was, and was like, "What's today?" They were like, "Oh, Tuesday, February the 2nd, Coach." He's like, "Wrong. What day is it?" "Oh, Wednesday, February 2nd. Sorry, Coach. What day is it?" And then that was wrong. And then he would ask one of the seniors, "Most important day of the season, Coach." And we're all like, "Oh, okay." We're like, all right, man, this is legit.
Yeah.
This is legit. And so to me, Hoya baseball is the brotherhood. It's about, like I said, playing, looking to your left, looking for your right, and playing for those guys, and playing for the school, playing for your first period teacher that is going to ask how you played the next day, and it's going to ask how you're doing. It's for the people that when the morning announcements come on, congrats to Harrison Hoya baseball for their win over whoever. It's for the guys that look at you after they say congrats on the win over the announcements. And so it's like,
wow,
it's playing for those guys, playing for your peers, and sometimes it's even playing against all the guys you grew up with, all the guys around this area, Hillgrove, Kennesaw Mountain, stuff like that, playing with those guys that you play with in summer ball, just being able to compete and just have fun with your guys.
Yeah. The tradition carries on. When I got to Harrison in 1994, there'd already been 2 seasons of baseball there, and Coach Power and Coach Elkins had laid the foundation for us, and it's never stopped. It's obviously, it was great that Coach Elkins could be there for 30 years and keep the tradition alive. But Coach Story was there for such a long time as the assistant coach, and he played for Coach Elkins and Coach Power, and so he's a Hoya, through and through, and he continues that tradition by leading us in the same way, for which an old Hoya is very thankful for it, and thankful for how you just described it. So as you look at this junior season, junior years, it's a big year. It's for a lot of guys, it puts guys on the map. A lot of times, used to not be that way. Back in the day, you could have a mediocre junior season, but have a extraordinary senior season and, get a lot of attention and get a scholarship. So many of these colleges are, looking for 3, 4, 5 years in advance that they're now trying to recruit guys and trying to get them to commit, at least with a verbal commit early on. As you look at this upcoming season, what are some of your thoughts about the season thus far, but also going forward and overall for the team?
Yeah. Just like you said, the brotherhood is the biggest thing that stands out for me. Just loving playing with the guys that you're with. Our chemistry is unmatched, in my opinion. Even a guy like Brett Kemp, who came in from Pennsylvania, coming in and just literally fit right in on the first day I met him. Just another one of the guys. And so that was big for me. And just wanting to, for me, coming to baseball practice is a relief. It's getting to go throughout your day, no matter what happens in that school building, you get to practice, and that's what you have. You don't have any other option but to focus on that. Yeah. And so I think just being able to go and play for y'all as a coaching staff and play for the players, just as a coaching staff, we have so many different coaches with different personalities. You look at a guy from you to Coach Story to Coach Evans to Coach Turnipseed, Coach Burton, just different guys that y'all all have different ways of approaching things. And it all, in my opinion, works collectively to create an absolute machine. And I love every bit of it. Just as an example, sitting on the dugout, doing our thing, banging our bang, cheering on the team. And Marcus is up to bat, and we got a runner on, I believe, second and third it was at the time, maybe just third. And Coach Story puts on the suicide squeeze.
Yeah.
Yep. And I look at the guy to my left, look at the guy to my right, give him a little eyebrow tap, and we're banging and we're going and we're like, let's do it. And it happens, and we're fired up, man, because that's the stuff we practice every single time on your last round of BP.
That's it.
You do what you're supposed to do, and
that is
suicide squeeze. So.
That's Hoya baseball.
Sure.
There's nothing better than a squeeze, giving yourself up, and it's do or die. There's no in between. You either get that bunt down, or there's disaster on the other end.
Yeah, Breck's at third. He's the new guy, right? He hadn't experienced anything like this, right? And Coach Story put it on, and he looks at him, and he's like, like, I'm going, right? And so you see he starts his like wind up or whatever, and Breck's creeping down. He's like, is this really gonna happen? Like,
this feels so
now?
Foreign. What are we doing?
And all of a sudden, Marcus lays down a beauty of a bunt, was almost beat it out at first, and Breck just strolls on in there. And I want to say that was the second run of the game. We were already up by one at that point. So that was just another example of something that the whole group working together, just from the coaching staff to the players, just all working as one.
Well, there's this sense in which you feel vulnerable as you start to run down that third base line, knowing that, what am I doing? Like, this is not normal. This is abnormal. And you start running towards home, and you are putting your faith and trust solely in the guy in the box to get the bunt down.
Yeah.
And it's the one time in baseball where it's like, I have got to completely trust this guy. Because if I don't, I'm going to be sliding in, and this guy's going to tag me out. There's just no way around it.
It's even more on the guy in the box as well.
It is.
Knowing that
I've got
you've got to do it, and that the guy coming home, you gotta get the job done. So,
and isn't that picture of a suicide squeeze picture of the Christian gospel?
Absolutely.
Where Christ says, "Come on, start running. I've got you. I'm going to lay down the bunt." But in his case, he had to give up his life so that we can have eternal life. Mm-hmm. He took on hell on that cross so that we can have heaven. He was forsaken so we can be forgiven. And it's this great exchange. And I think that's why I get so fired up when I see that suicide
Yeah,
squeeze.
Man. Like, I can't even tell you. I want to say it was Cole Bentley. He put it on. I looked at him. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. And I was talking to somebody about it yesterday. I want to say we were running down in the pouring rain to the indoor. I want to say it was today.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just can't believe I can't get over that squeeze, man. It's just, that's one of the things in baseball, because as a defense, when you're like, okay, second and third, let's get back in here and go. And you throw a pitch and you see him running, and it's like, come on, couldn't you have just swung the bat? And like, as a thing, on the defensive side, it's so hard to defend. So.
It is. A little side note. This is kind of a parenthetical statement, but my second year at Harrison coaching, Coach Whiting and I were coaching JV, and a guy named Josh Davis, who was a coach, who's now the head coach at Marietta High School. He was with us, and we practiced on JV. We practiced the suicide squeeze all the time. And that season, we successfully completed 17 suicide squeezes.
God. Wow.
But the most remarkable thing that we ever did was we actually did a suicide squeeze twice in one inning.
If you're the other coaching staff, man, you're like, come on, it's JV baseball.
Yeah. So the day that we do 2 suicide squeezes in one inning, I may lose it and just start screaming, which I never do. So it will be something to behold. All right, so let me ask you this. Do you want to play baseball in college? Would you like to have that opportunity?
Yes, sir, absolutely. That's the dream. Yes, sir.
And are there any schools on your list that you say, man, I'd like to at least, have an opportunity to possibly go there and play?
I would be the University of Alabama.
University of Alabama.
So my dad actually, I mentioned he was in the Marines.
Yeah.
He actually completed his degree from the University of Alabama while he was in the Marines. So he FaceTimed his graduation. He didn't graduate. He was actually deployed. I believe it was Afghanistan at the time. Man. So he, his entire side of the family, diehard Alabama fans. Growing up through my childhood, Alabama football, that was the standard in the whole Nick Saban era. Nick Saban was another guy.
Yeah.
Growing up, that I would probably attribute my mindset and my leadership abilities towards just seeing him go out there and do his thing. And so Alabama, just even with him gone, has always been for me just since I was a kid the dream. So
man, well, they've got a great baseball program at Alabama. If you get to go there or anywhere else, what kind of degree do you want to pursue?
I think I could do some marketing stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Coach Kemp over at Harrison has sort of opened my eyes to the marketing side of things, and he's done a great job with all his classes over there. And so I could never really see myself in a desk job. I love coming on here and speaking, but I could never. School's enough for me, man. I don't think I could sit down at a 8-hour desk job. I want to be hands on with something. I want to be doing something with people. And so either something like marketing or maybe something a little more hands on as well.
Yeah. Well, obviously job markets are changing. You got all this AI everywhere, but person-to-person relationships and being able to have conversations will never go away.
Yes, sir.
And they are highly valuable. So even just sitting down having a conversation right now, using that skill and using it over and over again, just to be able to have conversations with people, relate to them, and at the end of the day, serving them. Truett Cathy from Chick-fil-A always said, if you serve enough people, you won't have to worry about your bottom line. And I think that's the misconception that a lot of people tend to grasp in our day is, I've got to get mine. It's got to be about me. I need my 15 minutes of fame. The reality is, if you serve enough people behind the scenes when nobody's looking, it all comes back to you.
Yeah.
And you will be blessed in some of the most remarkable ways. And I think you've got some of those talents. The Lord's already given them to you, and you get to exercise them more and more, and you'll get better and better at them. And just wait and see what happens. So one last thing we'll talk about, and that is, I've been so thankful that you've been attending the Bible study that we have on Wednesday mornings. It's early, especially during baseball season when we have late games and guys get home late, and then you got to get up early and get to school. But I just want to say thanks for being there. Thanks for being encouragement, inviting others. You know, Coach Whiting and I started that 5 years ago when Micah was a freshman, and there were literally 5 guys, and they were all baseball players. And it was like Micah and his buddies.
Yeah.
And we would just meet, do the same thing. I'd bring in chicken biscuits from Chick-fil-A, which they're free. So if anybody's watching and you'd like to have a free chicken biscuit, please join us.
Sure. Was it? Is it 7:30 a.m.?
7:30.
Room 116.
Room 116. Yep. But there were like 5 kids.
Yeah.
And we just started walking through books of the Bible. And the funny thing is, the first book we walked through was James.
Yeah.
We just walked right through that book of the Bible. And year after year, we saw more and more people coming. And it's been great to see, like this past Wednesday, a full room. There's no seats available.
Yeah, I told you. I want to say I told you yesterday. I was like, Coach Knox, my goal by the end of the semester is we're gonna have to find a bigger room. Man. We're gonna need to go out to the theater. My goal by the end of this is try and have as many people get in there and hear the good news as possible. So, yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach Whiting. I really appreciate it. You know, our whole goal for it was to be a place where people could get a free chicken biscuit, good breakfast, and not just feed on a good chicken biscuit, but also feed on the Word, have the heavenly manna, and a place where they could find encouragement, they could find hope, a place that you could be comfortable, and these relationships with other students could really take hold, and you could have others around you that you could count on. And you could also reach out to coaches and teachers so that you have a community around you. And we all need community. We have to have community. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are. On Thursdays, every Thursday at 11 o'clock, I go and spend an hour with a lady who's 87 years old. And her husband has died. She lives at a place called Sterling Estates. And I go and spend time with her, and I learned so much from her. Just all these years of life that she's lived. And I also get this wonderful community with this lady who is such a bright light and hope. And times, a guy like me who's 47, there are times in life where you start doubting things, or you may freak out at times, you get a little anxious about some things. And I'll talk to her about it, and she'll say, yeah, I lived through about 7 of those times, and it's fine. Man. The Lord's got you,
Yeah.
He's got you. It's going to be okay.
Take joy in it, right?
That's right. Yep. Count it all joy. The testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And that verse goes on to say, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and will be given to him. And wisdom is an understanding, but the ability to act accordingly. And I think that's what that lady does for me. She enables me to calm down, to relax, and know that there's nothing new under the sun. And that's why we need people who are older than us around us, people our same age, and then people who are younger. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I enjoy spending so much time around you guys. You guys are still teaching me a ton of stuff at y'all's age, and the world's a different world for you guys. There's a lot of things going on that we never had to deal with. I went to Harrison before there were cell phones. If somebody had a pager, and there were a couple of people who had pagers, they were the drug dealers. And so that's all that. So if you wanted to make a phone call from the school, you had to go to the front office, or you could go to the bus port, and they had a pay phone in the bus port. Yeah, that's really old school. But, it's a totally different time.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for that, coming to that Bible study, being a part of it. And, man, we started this past week just talking about Paul's words in 2 Corinthians. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Mm-hmm. And the whole series we're going to look at is just God's power made perfect in weakness. And I think that's huge because so many of us, and especially your age group, Man, you guys are inundated with, it's all about the big, the bright, the showy, the flashy. You've got to be epic. You've got to go viral. There's all these like buzzwords, and it begins to kind of seep into your pores. And as we saw a minute ago, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but he who humbles himself will be exalted. And if you're always trying to point toward other people, build them up, strengthen them, highlight them, be thankful and grateful for them, it's remarkable how it helps the whole of community, the totality of a team or a classroom or a family. And, Luke, that's what I see the Lord doing in you and through you on the baseball team and in the halls of Harrison. So thank you, for being obedient to what he's called you. As we wrap up, anything you can think of, anything else that you'd like to say, anything else the Lord's been showing you from Scripture, anything at all?
No, I've just been trying to keep it consistent. You know, we had a guest speaker come on our church. I believe he played at Harrison.
Oh,
I think his name was Cole Ragsdale. Maybe. Does that ring a bell?
Maybe
like Ragsdale, I know for sure was the last name.
Must have been after my time.
He started a church in Alabama.
Wow.
He's one of the youth pastors there.
Wow.
And so he came to our church and was talking about how 15 minutes a day, spending 15 minutes a day with God is most of the time better than an hour a month. And he was talking about the consistency of that. And that's something that I took to my heart and sort of took and ran with and sort of tried to apply to my life. And the things that he talked about were word, worship, and prayer. And how if you just dedicate 5 minutes a day to the Word of God, 5 minutes a day to putting on your favorite worship song on the way to school, and then 5 minutes a day to just sit in peace and quiet and pray, that a lot of times in my mind is better than an hour a month, because just whether it's the first thing you do or the last thing you do or anywhere in between, that's just something I've tried to do. And so,
that's a really good word, because it's kind of like mastering the mundane, right?
Yep.
It's just, you do it over and over again, like brushing your teeth, and it just becomes second nature. Second nature to just push into God and to say, I want to spend some time with you. I need to hear from you. I need to talk to you through prayer. So I want to worship you through song. And doing it day after day is kind of like breathe, balance, back up the middle, right?
Yes, right. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid.
That's the Marines, man.
That's it.
The first day you said that, I was like, man, I should listen to my dad. Like freshman year 4-on-1s, it's like, I really should have listened to what he's going to say, because this is really going to pay off if I can know where he's going with this. So
there is something about when you get into a batting cage and you just hit the ball back up the middle. Just hit it right back at the L screen. I mean, not epic. Not the most fantastic thing to do. But if you can keep your hands inside the baseball and hit it right back at the L screen, and you can do that repetitively, then when you get in a game, great things can happen. And it's the exact same thing with reading Scripture, praying, and worshiping. You do that day after day, and when you go out into the real world, into the wild, into life, and things happen, well, then you can just fall back on your default mode, which is, here's what the Lord said, and this is how I'm supposed to react to this. This is how I'm going to encourage others or strengthen them or whatever is happening in the situation. But it's usually never about the epic, right?
Consistency, man.
It is. It's all about consistency. And consistency over long periods of time equals success.
Yes, sir.
I know a guy who said that, and this just happened in the last 10 years, there's a lot of people who started making much of him and talking about him, and they said, man, you're like an overnight success. He said, I know, I've been working hard at this for 30 years. I'm an overnight success,
Yeah.
and it's just every day getting up, getting after it, grinding, working hard, serving and caring for others, walking with the Lord. And somewhere down the road, 25, 30 years, all of a sudden people are like, you're an overnight success. No.
Nope. You just didn't see it yet, man.
That's right.
Yep.
You didn't see
Just
all
now
the
seeing it.
hard work I put in for so many years. But it is the same thing with our Lord. And Jesus did the same thing for 33 years. He grew in wisdom and favor and stature with God and man. That's Luke chapter 2, verse 52. He read the scriptures. That's pretty amazing to think about. He read Genesis. He read Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. He read the Bible. He prayed on a daily basis. He attended worship. It's not the big, hard things like you said a minute ago. 1 hour once a month.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. But what if we could just do the 15 minutes a day? And that can go for anything, right? It can go with a relationship with a parent or a sibling, a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband and wife. 15 minutes with the Lord, 15 minutes getting some swings off the tee, 15 minutes working on some spin, whatever it is, 15 minutes.
One of the quotes I heard most recently was talking about how those who usually because a lot of times as Christians we ask God for answers to things just when it comes to anything, and a lot of times it said people with closed ears generally tend to have a closed Bible, and so that's something that sort of stuck out to me when I read it, because it was like a lot of times looking back and self-reflecting myself, I am looking for a lot of answers and asking God, just please reveal the next path I need to take, the next step I need to do. And so I just have tried really hard to just dig in this thing right here and try and let this speak to me as much as possible, because at the end of the day, it's his word. So best place to find it.
Well, Luke, I can tell you this. After years of walking with the Lord, the Christian faith is more like a crock pot than a microwave. You put something in the crock pot in the morning. My wife does this often. And, she'll turn it on, go off to work, go to baseball practice, come home, and the whole house just smells with this aroma. It's so delicious. I mean, you're just like, I got to get to this food.
It's like dangling in front of your face,
Oh, man,
It's
it's so good. But, it started at 6:30 or 7 o'clock that morning, and it was cooking throughout the whole day. And it wasn't fast. We had to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is the fruit of the Spirit, right? The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience. And we live in an impatient world. I mean, you can get on your phone right now, and in either 2 hours or 2 days, you can get something from Amazon. Very quick.
See something you don't like, just keep scrolling.
Just keep scrolling.
You don't have to be patient at all.
No, you don't. And you can go through a drive-through, or if you don't like a drive-through, somebody can bring it to your house now.
I was about to say, it's 2 clicks, double tap to pay, and it's on the way, man.
Everything has no friction. You can it's so easy to do it, right?
Yes, sir.
But we live in a very impatient world. If there's anything I can encourage people with, that is be patient. I have a guy at my church who says, my wife and I never pray for patience anymore. And I said, really? He said, yeah, because the Lord always tests us. Every time we pray for patience, it just seems to drag out longer.
Yep.
But if you're reading the gospel accounts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there are often times where Jesus would get into the boat and then go to the other side. And I would always ask myself, what did they do in the meantime?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. The verse stopped with they got in the boat. The next verse started with they're on the other side. And I'm like, well, there was somewhere in between. They're in the boat. They're on the water.
And it's Jesus, man. It's not like it's just a bunch of random guys in that boat, too.
No, it's all these disciples, and they're hanging out with Jesus. And it was like, but in the meantime, what did they do in the meantime? Well, here's what I do know. They were on the boat with Jesus. They're hanging out with Jesus. They're spending time with Jesus. I would too. But isn't that a small microcosm of what the Christian faith is for us? look, we want to know what's next for next year. We want to know where we're going to college. We want to know when we graduate. We want to know what degree we're going to get, where we're going to get a job. We want to know when we get married. We're going to have kids. All these things we rush. We push towards. And we forget the greatest thing is just walking with Christ, the journey with him, day after day, walking with him. And when we ask him to show up, Lord, show up, either by reading this thing or show up in my life. Show me things. He is faithful to do it. But it's just that consistency of walking with him, and wonderful things will happen. And he'll give you the eyes to see those wonderful things too. Well, Luke, thank you. I really appreciate your time. Appreciate how you are leading by encouragement. There's a strange part about the Christian faith, and it is we have hope. Even when we grieve, 1 Thessalonians 4 says we do not grieve as others who have no hope. We have hope. What is that hope? Well, that hope is what Peter says in 1 Peter chapter 1. He says that God has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. The crucifixion is amazing. We're going to celebrate Good Friday not too many weeks from now. But that Easter morning when he rose and he says, we too shall rise, that's the great hope. Because sure, death's got some sting right now. Death wants to hold us down, but it can't hold us down forever, because 1 Corinthians 15 says he has victory over the grave. And that word victory is the Koine Greek word Nike, which is pretty fantastic.
Nike's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
Nike's pretty cool.
Yeah. Looked like you were looking at something for a second there. Something you want to share?
I was just flipping back to Malachi again. Just wanted to lay eyes on that again.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, man. Sometimes I'll read something and it'll just speak to me and fire me up. And that's one. It's Malachi 2 verses. No, Malachi 3. Malachi 3 verse 2. 2 through 3. Just talking about how he'll be like a blazing fire that refines metal, or like a strong soap that bleaches clothes. He'll sit like a refiner of silver, burning away all the dross. So, just going forward, I just hope that that's something people can take encouragement in, is that when you feel like you're in the middle of the fire, it's just temporary.
That's right. Kind of like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yep.
In the fiery furnace. And yet there's a fourth one walking around in there. Who is it? Well, it's the Lord. He's there to protect us, and he'll take us through that fire. Well, Luke, thank you again for taking this time. Really appreciate it. Appreciate what the Lord's doing through you. I'm excited for you and grateful for your wonderful parents and your grandfather who have pointed you to Christ. And that says a lot of your family. This shows their walk with the Lord, and it's generational. And he is a covenant-keeping God who looks after generations. So thank you for the time, but also thank you guys for taking the time to tune in. We appreciate it. Yes, we need multiple exposures to the gospel. We're praying for you. Please pray for us. If you'd like to support the podcast, take a look at the link in the description below. God bless.